My planning was effective at the start of the unit because I unpacked the Shape America PE standards. I was able to identify which standard and objective that I wanted to work towards in the unit and support the students in gaining knowledge of. I choose the physically literate individual demonstrate competency in a range of motor skills and movement patterns. This was the logical choice because it supported the technique heavy learning that occurs in this unit. From the newly gained understanding of how to unpack the standards and develop objectives, I created five concise objectives that were the guide for all learning that took place in this unit. If I was unsure whether to include something in the class, I could easily refer back to this objective to see whether it fitted under one of those categories. If it did, I included, and if it did not, then I knew it was not suitable. For this, I was unable to visualize what students would be able to do at the end of the unit and create a summative assessment task that allowed the students to demonstrate all of their learning. Now that I knew what the beginning and the end of unit looked like, I was able to plan backwards from the summative assessment to the start of the unit. I ordered the learning in a logical sequence so that the skills from one session led onto the next session and didn't leave gaps in understanding. Whilst doing this, I was able to map where I could include different level of thinking from Bloom's taxonomy and also 21st century learning skills. At this point, I was fully prepared to write a lesson plan for each session using the information that I had mapped out in the unit plan. This highly structured approach that I learned really made a positive impact on the learning in the unit because nothing was left for change, and I knew that everything the students needed to learn was included in the unit before we even began the first session. There were times when I planned for too much content and did not have enough time in the pool to cover everything that I thought we would. This meant that I had to fit the extra content into future lessons, so the students did not miss any learning. This happened because the students either took longer than I thought to grasp on earlier tasks, or sometimes just because I underestimated how much we could do. I also had a few activities that did not work as well as I had hoped because of organization. For example, I did not plan to get paper, pens, and clipboards ready, so we had to adapt and use whiteboards, which made the task more difficult for students. I learned that a well-planned unit of work and individual lessons really improves student learning. When I know how each lessons flow into the next, I can connect the learning to previous lessons and to those that will be coming up later on in the unit. This helped the students to recall the learning and also to apply it throughout the unit. The most critical part of the unit was the planning process because everything else follows on from that. By beginning with the standard, then connecting learning objectives and assessment tasks, and then using backward planning to create the lessons. It gave excellent structure to the student. From a student-centered point of view, developing strong technique was critical. If the student did not develop strong technique, it was hard from them to complete the assessment task fully because they were tired before the end of the longer swim. It was also critical that the student to learn how to give feedback properly. One of my changes is to have a student begin giving feedback in the larger groups so that students who struggle to analyze had more time to gain understanding of what exactly they were looking for. The planning process helped me to determine whether I knew the students met the objectives, develop understanding of the content, and gain the skills because I knew the whole learning journey that the students were traveling along. I had also visualized what the end of the unit would look like so I could compare whether what was happening at different points in the unit was aligned with the requirements at the end of the unit. When what I saw matched my expectation, then I knew the students were on track. And when it was not, I knew that I had to make adaptation to ensure the students got there. The result of this clear vision is that I was able to more accurately plan and assess student learning. This allowed me to give specific feedback throughout the unit with targets for each student. This ensures high levels of students' motivation throughout because the student wanted to reach their next target.